alongside SC Romero, Justin Taylor, and this week's guest, Noah Green. I'm Tommy Harvey. Tonight, we are going to dive into looking at Devy relevant players in the Pac-12, plus some Devy news. All that will be coming up right now. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing great.
Doing good, my man.
Awesome. Hey, before we jump into a little bit of Devy news, do us a favor and everybody hit the thumbs up and subscribe. As always, if you'd like to know when we go live, just make sure you also hit that notification bell. A little bit of Devy news to start off the show tonight. Seydou Traore has committed to play wide receiver at Mississippi State. That I know he wanted to play that at Colorado, and he felt kind of tricked into going there. So now he has moved on to Mississippi State.
He was a tight end, right? At Colorado.
He was a tight end. Yeah, he was a tight end. Transferred to Colorado to play wide receiver, and then they kind of told him, "Hey, you're going to play tight end here too." He didn't like that, so he transferred to Mississippi State.
Nice.
Originally from Arkansas State, correct?
Correct. Originally at Arkansas State with old Butch Jones down there. Also here, 4-star quarterback Damon Williams Jr. has decommitted from Ole Miss. Indications are he is trending towards Arizona. And 5-star wide receiver Cam Coleman has committed to Texas A&M. Those are a couple of guys to look for in your Devy dress for next year, particularly Cam Coleman at Texas A&M. These running backs, and get into the wide receivers. All right, guys, let me go and throw up this wide receiver list because it is a long one. The Pac-12 has a ton of wide receivers here. I went 25 deep, and I probably could have gone 30 to 35 deep here. But you look at at least the top 11, 12 guys, or maybe even 13. You're like, these guys all have NFL futures. And then, you start getting past there and it's some unknown guys, but you are very, very top heavy here with Branch and Franklin and Lemon and Dickey, McMillan, Odunze, Tet McMillan, Dorian Singer, Jacob Cowling. All those guys can really play, and they're going to get pretty good draft capital, I think, too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, 3 out of the top 4 here are freshmen. It speaks to why you'd be excited about Malachi too, because he's got Branch and Lemon coming in with him, and they're going to grow with him. And you also have another freshman, Jacoby Lane, who's like 6'5", who you're not going to hear about this year, but you could see sneak into this into the list later.
Yeah, no, I didn't even throw him on there.
Yeah, he's not. But so that room is wild. I am interested in hearing thoughts on Dorian Singer, because I think he is a controversial one, where there are a lot of different thoughts on him. Led the Pac-12 in receiving last year, transferred from Arizona, contested catch wizard, played kind of all over the field, 70% outside, 30% in the slot, and going to SC will be interesting to see how he does with that jump up in at least localized competition in the room. I'm also interested to hear thoughts on Odunze versus McMillan, because that is a constantly interesting conversation.
Yeah. I don't think Singer has the top line speed. I think he has problems separating. But like you said, he's a big time contested catch guy, big 50-50 winner. I just think in the NFL he's going to have to kind of turn some speed on.
Gotcha.
Him and J. Michael Sturdivant, kind of the same type of guy.
Interesting. I've heard that before.
And then, as far as Odunze and Jalen McMillan, I think McMillan is probably the better NFL prospect. I think Odunze may have a better college season, though.
I think a ton of these guys have talent. My biggest question is, will that I think they're going to have, a lot of these guys are going to have huge seasons. Now, the question is, will that translate to the NFL? Where do they fit in on an NFL team or franchise? And that's where, again, I'm a little worried about some of these USC guys. I think they could have good years, but I'm just not totally sold yet on them being legit NFL guys. Ton of young guys. So it's just a question. Like, I think these freshmen are some really talented guys, and I'd almost be looking at them over some of these older guys. I just think that the talent, the size, all that, I think makes a big difference. I just don't know of the Arizona guys, Cowing, McMillan. I like both of them a lot. Got to see how they kind of translate. Mario Williams and Singer, I don't see huge NFL upside for those guys. So those I'm probably out on those guys Devy wise personally. I'd rather take a shot on Branch or Lemon if I'm doing that. Franklin, Dickey, I like both those guys a ton. We've obviously seen the NFL doesn't matter if you're a little undersized at wide receiver, a little skinny, they'll take you now, which I think helps Franklin big time. The guy that I think DT Sheffield could show some stuff this year. I'm not sure what his super high Devy is. He's a guy that I could do something where I kind of like him. He's going to get some opportunities if he wins that slot role. Washington State would be interesting. And the other guy, I just think, Neon Dion, man, he wants to get his guys out there. He wants to show it off. I'm really interested to see how Colorado uses Travis Hunter. I think they're going to play him a lot more on offense than people think. It's one of those things. I think people thought, okay, he's going to be a full-time defensive guy, and then he's going to play some offense. And I almost wouldn't be surprised if he ends up playing more offense and less defense, because just the way the makeup of this team is and how they're going to have to put up points. And I think Dion's going to want him on the field on offense and give them the most chance to score points. So Travis Hunter's a guy I've been grabbing because a lot of times people forget about him. A lot of times he's listed as a cornerback instead of a wide receiver. So I've been grabbing him in quite a few areas. And one of the reasons I'm taking him is you just can't teach talent. Number one player in the country when he came out, I want to bet on those guys. If I'm going to take a chance on somebody at Devy, I'm taking a chance on the most talented guys. And so that's where I'd rather take a shot on Travis Hunter over some of these other guys who are probably going to have better wide receiver numbers. But I think Travis Hunter has a better chance to be an NFL player.
You taking him in the top 5 rounds?
I have been. I've actually overdrafted him in quite a few spots. I probably have taken him higher than I should. But again, if it's straight Devy, I'm going to take the guy that I think has a shot to make an NFL roster and do something.
Makes sense.
And that's why I'm taking him talent alone. CFS C2C, I blew people's mind. I took him in the second round, last pick of my C2C supplemental. I took Sanders first, and I took Hunter second.
Wow.
And people were like, whoa, you took him over all those freshmen? And I was like, I'm taking talent. I want talent. I want the guy that's going to have people talking about him. The media is going to be all over him playing both ways. Everybody's going to be talking about how is he the next Dion that can play offense and defense. I just think there's going to be so much spotlight on him. I think he's going to get every opportunity to be huge. And I'm just buying the upside is what I'm doing.
What scares me about Hunter is, how does the NFL value him? Do they value him as just a corner, or will they? Because you don't see a whole lot of two-way players in the NFL.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, even Dion didn't play a whole lot of offense.
That's right. Yep.
But he was, obviously he was primarily a corner. Is that what the NFL sees Travis Hunter as, or do they view him as a two-way guy, or even more as a wide receiver? I don't know.
And I could see him going to the NFL, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're a first-round cornerback, and you're a third-round wide receiver."
Right.
And he goes, "Okay, I'll play more corner in the pros." I could see it, but again, for me, I'm going to take that swing that he has a high upside, that he's going to find a spot somewhere. I'm not taking him first, second round in a Devy draft, no freaking way. But if I'm in a league where you have somebody you cap it at like 28 or 36 Devy picks. If I'm taking them like my last Devy selection, if I got 5 guys, I can take 5 Devys, and if I can take him with my 5th, I'm taking him as my 5th. Yeah. Just for the upside, because again, at that point, okay, I'm taking a freshman or sophomore wide receiver that's just as much of a long shot. If they're going to be able to hold together, I'm going to take the #1 player in the country, and if he goes to the pros and makes it as a cornerback and not a wide receiver, I'm not going to beat myself up about it because I did take him super early, but I just like the talent.
Yeah.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Any of these other wide receivers you guys have any thoughts on?
Tetero and McMillan, man.
Yeah.
He's he could steamroll up this. He could be #1 on this board to start next year very easily, in my opinion. He's 6'4", 6'5", little light, but with the ability to add some weight to the frame. Had a really strong freshman year with competing with Singer and Jacob Cowing. And McMillan's got an NFL body. He's a big kid. I think he's going to take a lot. I think he's going to have a good college season, and I think he's got a real shot to have very solid pro projection. I could see him getting into the second round draft capital conversation real easily. Jacob Cowing, interesting to me also. Cowing is sneaky. He is one of these. He's small, but he is just a really good receiver, and I could see him getting some NFL draft capital. We've started to see some of these smaller kind of target hog receivers getting some run in the third round, in the fourth. Like, I could see him getting into that draft capital conversation. He's an interesting one to me. For sure, those Arizona guys are real good.
Yeah, a couple of these guys that I kind of have my eye on here. There's Elijah Badger out of Arizona State, and also Jalen Polk out of Washington. Badger, I think, is going to have a big time year this year at Arizona State, and really could shoot up draft boards. And Polk is probably a year away from being that #1 receiver there in Washington, because obviously you got McMillan and Odunze ahead of him, but don't sleep on Jalen Polk. He has big time talent also.
He does.
I mean, the only one I'm comfortable taking in the first tier is Troy. Right now, I just think we've seen a lot of him where it comes in. The freshmen, I'm all very high on every single one of them. Zachariah, Makai, Jerry on Dickey, all really great. It's going to be interesting to see who becomes the top option for Caleb Williams, right? Because you're talking about this high Devy quarterback. You're taking him 101. You're taking him top 10 and quarterbacks are ready for Dynasty League. So who's going to be on the receiving end of it? And are they going to be showing enough to say, hey, I'm a great talent? Or is it just going to be that Caleb is throwing the dimes and he's just getting it to where they need to get the ball, right? So that's going to be very interesting. And on the flip side, we were talking heavy about Bo on the year he needs to have. It's not going to be all Troy Franklin that's doing it. Jerry on Dickey's going in there. You have Tez Johnson, you have different guys in there as well. So that's another one where I think Oregon's going to high fly. It's going to be a heavy passing offense. So to see how these wide receivers eat and what they do can raise their draft stock based on how they showcase their catching ability, to run after the catch, all those little things to do it. Do I see any of them as like a day 2 pick in the NFL draft? Not right now. Troy Franklin, he's kind of like that Zay Flowers to me, where he's small, but he plays big. He's fast. He can get open, all that kind of stuff. So he may rise into that first round. But even then, I mean, like Zay, I would still probably be a little bit hesitant to get him because I don't necessarily see him as an every down or a wide receiver one in the NFL, but definitely a nice slot guy coming in. There's a lot of question marks when it comes to the wide receiver room. I think there's some guys that you would take for some heavy upside, but I really do think this wide receiver room is also something where a lot of these guys could not capitalize on the value you're getting them at, so you actually could be eating that later down the road.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I agree with you. I think Franklin is who I'd have pretty high. I'll be taking Branch over Franklin myself in Devy drafts.
Yeah.
I just think Branch's upside. JT said it earlier. You bet on talent. Branch's talent is off the charts, unquestioned. Like, I'm going to bet on that talent. Franklin Lemon Dickey becomes interesting, and I like McMillan in there for the reasons you stated, because I think McMillan has like X wide receiver one type of body and capability that I want to see if he grows into that. But I like taking that flyer, and he was a strong
McMillan or Jalen McMillan.
Tet McMillan.
Gotcha.
More than I'll take Tet over Jalen myself easily. A guy I wanted to throw in that was on our show sheet but didn't make the list, that just not somebody I'm drafting in Devy this year, but someone I'm keeping an eye on, is Mikey Matthews at Utah. Okay. And the reason I'm keeping an eye on Mikey Matthews is I have a few reasons. Number one, the dude showed out at the Under Armour All-America game. Like, he was toasting guys. I mean, he was toasting 5-star QBs all week. He caught a beautiful, incredibly difficult touchdown from Jackson Arnold in that game. I love when guys play up to that competition. And then I was doing some research on him, and I found this tweet from Nico Iamaleava, saying, like, he retweeted a video of Mikey Matthews randomly in like 2022 or something, being like, Mikey Matthews is him, HIM in all caps. And I was like, oh, all right, Nico knows something. Like, I'm gonna keep my eye on that dude. So he's at Utah. I don't know if he's gonna take the world by storm as a freshman, but he's a guy for like next year, future years. I'm just kind of like watching, because when a guy shows out like that against top competition and gets respect from guys like Nico, I'm listening.
When I say about Franklin too, I mean, with the upside in it, I think I might take Dickey at the value. As a freshman prospect coming in, I think
big guy,
more
big
upside, exactly. And even if there is a chance where he's the wide receiver one on the team coming in. So it's very interesting. I do like Tet. Dunjay's too. Dunjay's great. We were talking about Penix earlier. I think that's going to be a great talent to watch, and his draft stock is going to make a lot of moves. If he goes in that early second round or mid second round, that's going to be heavy for him. We see these teams all the time take wide receivers where it's like, wait, who did you get there? I mean, we can even go into like a Brendan Rice. That's a legacy. We're talking about Stu Sanders. Brendan Rice, his dad was a wide receiver, a great at the time, arguably, right? So
he's got great rapport with Caleb Williams too.
Yeah. And he's someone that came from Colorado, so that's something that it's interesting seeing that, because this could be there could be monster guys, and we just need to see how these quarterbacks feed these wide receivers. Is it they're all even, each getting consistent targets, or is there one just outliering the rest of their field?
SC, for Devy, for just straight Devy, like no college production purposes, are you going Jalen McMillan or Odunze?
Odunze.
I
just like the volume that he'll receive. I think he'll get a lot more. I think we saw what he can do last year, and I believe I think he's going to be the one in that offense. I think you're going to be more. He's going to be able to get open a little bit better, I feel like. And I feel when it comes to those two players, we're going to see more upside on him, bigger games from Odunze than we will McMillan, personally.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on any of these wide receivers? Let me throw this list up again here.
Jimmy Horn could be fun to watch.
Yeah, could be. To me, he's more of a
but like he could be fun to watch.
yeah, could be fun to watch.
You don't think Sturdivant has NFL? He's a guy I see
I
going
do.
top 5 round of Devy drafts.
Yeah, I do. I think I'm probably not taking them top 5 rounds in a Devy. Now, if you have more than 5 picks, then possibly. Like if you traded for extra picks, then maybe. But he has separation issues. Not overly fast. I kind of have him and I kind of have him in the same in the same breath with Dorian Singer. Dorian Singer is probably a little bit higher on my list, just because he's going to play in such an explosive offense that he's going to have the ability to show a little bit more than what J. Michael Sturdivant will.
Yep.
But those two are kind of similar in my opinion.
I had a trade here for some Devy prospects for some freshmen or rookies in the NFL. Would you trade Troy Franklin, or would you acquire Troy Franklin and Romeo Odunze for Josh Downs and Jalen Hyatt?
Yes.
Yeah.
You get the 2 college players over them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nope.
Those 2 college players, I would.
Yeah. That's a fair trade in the Devy's Dynasty Pros Devy calculator.
That's a good example. Yeah, I probably would.
I mean, I think you when they get drafted, you're kind of going to be looking at them the same, right? Like, I don't think any of them are jumping off. So it's like, who do you see has a little bit more upside? Or it could be, with the landing spot too. But
yeah,
I look at Troy Franklin as kind of, I mean, the guy's what, like 6'3", so he's a taller, lanky guy, has really, really good speed. Jalen Hyatt 6'1". Now Jalen Hyatt had a great year last year, but he was literally a 1-year guy in college. Had not done anything prior to last year. Speed wise, they're probably both pretty close to the same. I think Troy Franklin's got better hands and is probably a better route runner. And you said Rome Odunze?
Yeah, and Downs.
And Downs. Odunze just has a better NFL body than what Downs does. Downs is what, like 5'10", maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 5'9", like 171. He's pretty small.
Yeah, really, really small guy. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to be a productive NFL wide receiver. I just think Odunze could possibly be better.
I actually like Downs a lot, but I would still make that trade. I'm down on Hyatt. I'm real worried about him. I'm not taking him in any rookie drafts. I like Downs. I've been taking Downs quite a bit in the second round of drafts, but I probably make that trade. I like those 2 college guys a little bit better.
I like Franklin. I mean, I think with Franklin, you're getting a guy who could be going, like you compared him to Flowers. I think that's the right value comparison, that you could see him sneak into the end of the first round of the NFL draft, and you could see him sneak into the end of the first round of dynasty drafts, rookie drafts next year. So I'm going to trade a second and a third from this past year for a first, and Odunze is at best a high second, at worst a mid third, like maybe in his range of outcomes.
I mean, we saw Michael Wilson go this year with less production.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I meant that not NFL wise. I meant that, but like, I think that's about it. I don't think Odunze gets in the first round of the NFL draft personally. I just don't think he's got those, but I could see him getting, I would do that trade.
I think he's a day 2 wide